In today's Writers Corner live show, we're going to be talking to Dominque Brightmon about his book, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. Don't go away. We will be right back. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Writers Corner live show where we elevate engagement and relationships through the power of live video. I'm your host, Brigitte Limbanda from Cape Town in South Africa, and today's stream is made possible by StreamYard, Creative Edge, and Be Live Media. If you're watching us over on Facebook, a warm welcome to you. And please do follow us, when we're going live. If you're over watching us on LinkedIn Live, welcome to the show. Good to have you here. And if you're following us on YouTube, magic. Thank you for joining us there. But we want to say a special warm welcome to our audience that is joining us on Amazon Live. You're going to find out a bit more about our author today, who is Dominque Brightmon, and we're going to be talking about his book, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. Who doesn't want to be successful, right? There's a lot of self-help books out there, but there's a good reason you want to get this particular one. But before we dive into that, I want to say a warm welcome to my friend and co-host, Mary Elizabeth Jackson. She is a special needs and disabilities advocate and the author of the award-winning Poolicious children's book series. Mary writes empowering books for children and is also working on some books for the special needs community and some motivational work for adults. She lives in Nashville. I'm in Cape Town, opposite ends of the world, so let us know where you are joining us from. And again, if you're watching us on Amazon Live, a special warm welcome. You're going to find out a bit more about Dom Brightmon in just a sec, but let me say hello to Mary first. Mary, welcome to the show.
Hi, good morning where I am. It is so nice to see you. It's so exciting to be here. I want to tell you that I showed my son where you are on the map, right? And he said, well, we can just swim there, right? So I was like, yeah, no, buddy. No, we can't just swim there, bud. It's going to take a long time in a big boat or an airplane to get there.
A lot of swimming.
Yes.
It might take you the whole year, right?
I know, or a lifetime, who knows? But yeah, it is awesome that we can be together and we're, and our guest is somewhere else other than where I am and you are, and we can all come together through live media, which is fantastic. So excited to be here and excited to have him on. And yes, we all need keys to success in our life. Absolutely. So can't wait to hear about it. Yep.
Definitely.
Can't wait to hear about it.
So Dom Brightmon is an award-winning speaker and also a certified member of the John Maxwell Team. And his books are Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself. And the one that we want to talk about mostly today is Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. And both these books are bestsellers. Dom is also a contributing author to of Crappy to Be Happy, Sacred Stories of Transformational Joy. And the other thing we want to know about him is that he's also the host of Going North, a podcast. And I rather like his mantra. His mantra is advance yourself to advance others to advance yourself. I think that's a great mantra to have, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, and I love his podcast. I've been on his show, and actually, we just shared it on social media recently. He does a really great job as a host, and he's a lot of fun. And yes, his mantra is fantastic, and we actually should all adopt that one, shouldn't we?
Absolutely. So let's get him onto the show, shall we?
Yes.
Dom, welcome to the show. Great to have you join us today.
Did you like that intro?
Oh, yeah. It feels good to be with you lovely ladies today. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you.
We're so excited you're here.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. How did you get to be an author? I mean, it's like we can all write, somebody puts a pencil in our hands, usually our moms, and we do some scribbles and stuff like that, but that doesn't quite qualify you as a writer or an author. So how did your love affair with words start? Did you just wake up one day and like, I can do this thing? How did you get into writing? Tell us a little bit.
Sure thing. How I got into writing. Well, it's kind of been a long journey, a long, short journey, because I loved books at a young age, then hated books as I got into high school. And then in college, after getting into a nice little setback year of 2012, where he thought that the world was going to end and all that really happens that we lost Twinkies for a month, I found a bunch of wonderful books about personal and professional development. And one of the books in particular, there was an activity where you would write your own obituary out. And for some strange reason, I just decided to write that I would be a best-selling author of multiple books in there, among many other things.
Wow.
Yeah. And a few months later, a woman dared me to write a book of my own at a Toastmasters conference when I was just networking with other people. And a year later, my first book, Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself, was published. And
wow,
it was really just the power of just really accountability and the fact that writing changes lives, and powerful writing is definitely what really helps you to advance in life and to advance others, because the classic phrase, the pen is mightier than the sword, because classic books that have been around for ages are still around, like the modern classics like Harry Potter, of course, an ancient book, the Bible, which is a bestseller every year. Like all these wonderful books that have been around for years and decades that still sell, that are still great, that still inspire the masses, inspired me to basically contribute my little piece into the business of immortality known as authorship.
You're amazing.
Do you think that sort of affirmation, actually writing it down, saying that you want to be a bestseller, was like an affirmation and an accountability, sort of like, I'm going to do this. I've written it down, so I'm going to be that.
Yeah, like prolific. That's what I was thinking.
Oh yeah, definitely. That really is the power of writing things down, because when you write things down, things do happen. Because heck, even looking back on some past goals that I've written down years ago, some of them manifested today. And that's all because I wrote them down and they stayed in my subconscious mind, and the actions eventually happen themselves. And especially that even happens when you're around the right people to help you really reaffirm your goals and hold you accountable to those goals, and to really just stick to them. And that's really just the power of writing and being around the right people. So it's a right occasion for the right time.
Haha. Yeah, absolutely. So how did you end up doing, becoming certified through John Maxwell? Because I know, that's a very well-known name. And I know I get emails from the Maxwell team. And so, what got you, I know. So that kind of gives you a lot of clout right there. People see that that you've been there and that you've got that certification. And so that really, it's kind of like a business card, I guess, and is very helpful. So what led you there to do that training? And then how much has that influenced your writing, like after that?
Yes, it's actually interesting. I found out about the team around in 2015 when I first joined this organization called Toastmasters International, which is all about helping folks to become better communicators, better public speakers, and of course, to become better leaders. And it's a nice little leadership laboratory. And a friend of mine, he was like the district leader, district director at the time, overseeing like 120 clubs out in the Baltimore, Maryland area. And he recently got his John Maxwell certification. And I'm like, dude, like, I can't believe this, because John Maxwell is my favorite author of all time, because his books are the main ones that have changed my life, and they continue to equip me to be able to equip others. And I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't even know there was a certification program. So that seed was planted in my mind about a good, I guess, wow, 6 years ago now. And then 4 years down the road, after writing down I was going to be JMT certified, John Maxwell Team certified, it finally happened in 2019 because some setbacks happened. Like my first book was published in 2016. So I was doing stuff before getting the certification. And heck, this is probably something inspirational for just about anyone, period, is the fact that even though a certification is great, make sure that you're doing the work and making sure you do more work after the certification, because the certification is not going to be the be all end all, because there's thousands of certified John Maxwell Team members around the world, but the varying levels of impact vary from person to person, because some think, oh, I got this shiny piece of paper, kind of like a degree, and then they don't use it, as opposed to some people,
Right.
they may use some of it and they keep going. So that really what set me off to become certified with the team. That happened in 2019. Paid the fee, went down to Florida, heard him speak. And John Maxwell, he's around 75 at this time, I believe.
Mm.
And he's actually at the peak of his career. He's probably in his prime right now, because if you see some of his clips out there with him speaking, it's usually him sitting in the store just having a good chat with you, like he's that cool uncle. And at the event, he really gave it his all. I even left in tears after the event because it was so powerful, from the people that I've met, from what I've gained, and to be able to help get out of it. Now it's just helping me to really get out there to add to what I'm already doing, helping folks to share their stories, empower others to share their stories, and to create their own piece of immortality.
Yeah, that's
Wonderful.
amazing.
So tell me, your book, Stay the Course, Elite Performers, 7 Secrets to Sustainable Success. You've got, in both your books, you've got a unique writing style, and you've become known as the no fluff guy. You get right to the point. Did you have special training to develop that sort of writing style? How did you develop that writing style, and why did you? Like, you don't beat around the bush. Tell us a bit about your writing style and why this book is so powerful.
Sure thing. The book is so powerful, and why I choose the no fluff approach is because we're in the microwave generation. We're in the Amazon Prime generation, where folks want stuff in their hand right now. And folks don't have time for 500 pages. Like, there's a lot of great books that
Right.
are 200 plus pages, but it's like
Right.
not everyone has time for that. A lot of people
Right.
even go to podcasts, and that can even come to Writers Corner Live TV, so that way they can get some great content without having to sit down and read a book, or even go to an audiobook or another podcast to really devour the content. So I was like, okay, the attention spans are so short nowadays. I think Goldfish still have his beat thanks to the wonderful zombie apocalypse devices known as a smartphone. So I'm like, okay, let me make sure I give it to them straight, no chaser, and that they can actually take the content and really go with it. And as for the training, really, the only training was through reading a bunch of other books and just learning from them, and then just taking the best of what they had, journaling from my own journal, taking stuff from my own personal life and actually applying. And that's another thing about this book. It's stuff that I actually believe in, that I've actually done in my own life. It's not stuff that I just regurgitated from someone else or found off of Google that I don't really believe in or I haven't applied in my own life, because authenticity is a buzzword nowadays. Vulnerability is another buzzword nowadays, because people don't want the fake it till you make it crowd all the time. They want someone who's down to earth, someone who actually is still going through the journey, as opposed to someone who's already made it and it's like, oh, you're all my minions, you're my followers, come to me.
Dom, you know what I really like is
Go ahead.
the fact that you've got action tips in the book. In other words, you sort of like, here's the advice, and now I want you to go and do this. And something that stands out is that that I really like in this age of technology that we live in, where people are like on their phones constantly. You're saying, think of someone who's made an impact in your life and go write them a thank you letter and go and mail it. How did you come up with that? I mean, that is just so different to sort of sending somebody a thank you email? That could be easy, right?
Oh yeah, it definitely can be easy. And this actually came to me in the book because one of the things that the John Maxwell team does, we're known for 5 things. We either coach, speak, train, assess behavior, or play the leadership game. And play the leadership game is something that I did with another JMT member, my good buddy Clyde Middleton, where sometimes you make the dogs howl in the background. You just got to make the dogs
Yes.
howl, make them realize that they too can lead and be the best wolf animals ever. And more importantly, there was a question in there where we're supposed to list at least 3 different people in our lives that are responsible for our success today. And the first 2 names were easy, both my mother and my father. And they are, I I wouldn't be here without them. So that's the easy choice. And my father, especially at the time when I was first asked this question, he was going through his last days on the planet Earth with his dementia. And the day before I received this question, we had to make a decision whether or not to have a feeding tube placed on him. And good thing we didn't, because that would have made his last days very painful. So after receiving that question and naming my father, he mentioned that the other part of the question was go thank them. So I basically ran after the meeting that night, forgetting that the visiting hours were over, and then having to go back the following day and just saying thank you for everything that you've done for me, because he was a veteran who served in the US of A and served in the Korean War as well as World War II, and had 2 combat jumps as a paratrooper. And he was in his early 90s when he passed away, and he was still helping out the church in his 80s, lifting up heavy boxes since there weren't too many folks at the church at the time for the food bank. So thanking him for leaving that positive influence on me, that progressive influence of me, of never stopping good work, never stopping to do good work, always do good work, and always help other people, even if it's a small thing. So that's really where that powerful question came from, and it's why we should always try to give folks their roses while they're still alive, because no one knows the day or hour when we may breathe our last breath, and we don't know how many more tomorrows we may have.
Right. And, I mean, that's very true. And I lost my father to the same thing. And it's very hard to see somebody so strong and powerful in their decline. And it is important. It's important for us to teach, to turn on and teach children this same philosophy about thinking and about being respectful and about honoring the things that are given to you in your life. In this whole entitlement phase that's happening with kids, we've got to get rid of that generation. Well, that belief system is more the right way to say it. I think that your transparency also is another thing that is a big seller for what you're teaching as well, and getting to the point. I agree with you. I've worked on a project in trying to fine tune it down to like what you're talking about. And the literary agent I was speaking with said, well, the bigger publishing companies want the bigger books, 60,000 plus, on a self-help book, a motivational book. And what I said was, well, if you're like me, who is a very busy mom and very busy, so many of us are so busy, and I have a situation right now and I need an answer, I want to open to page 10. I want to get that solution and carry on with my life, apply it and go on. So I'm a big fan of smaller books that get right to the point. And I think that books are starting to, some of them are starting to go that way. I mean, we still need our, we obviously will always need our very big novels, and things that take people a lot of time to read and will take them away. But when you're looking for solutions, you want it right then and there. And so, I'm really glad that you've done that. And it's something that's very beneficial to a lot of people.
So tell us, Dom, how is Going North different from the other book? Tell us, what are the distinct differences, and did you write them with different audiences in mind, or is the one the follow-up on the other?
Yes. So Going North, that was the wonderful first book written on a dare, and Stay the Course, the main focus for today. That was the follow-up book that took around a good 2.5 years to finish, because the first book itself, that was written on a dare. I was given a year to get it done, and I was able to get it done in a good 10 months. As opposed to the second book, where it was like, okay, the first book is done. I know the process. I know what to do, and I know what to outsource this time because the first book I formatted myself with Microsoft Word, and that was hell on earth, and I'm never doing it again.
Yes, I understand.
That was very brave of you.
Yes.
Yeah. Not doing that again. And the good thing about the second book, it's more polished, there's more content within it. Because within it, there's a couple appendixes. Because, of course, on the title, there's 7 secret keys, but it's really 8. There's an 8th key in the back of the book. There's also 2 appendixes. And I gotta love the English language. And
I know, yes. If you have 2 appendices, then we need to check you out, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's great content too because there's 50 quotes in the back that you can basically, if you want to, you could clip them out or put them on your smartphone, or heck, even make them as sticky notes and put them as nice little affirmations and reminders around your home, around your life, so that way you can have positive reminders too. And heck, not only that, a list of other books to read too, because also I have a library background, but working there for 14 years, and recommending books is something that I'm good at, and just might as well recommend more books for more folks to read, because that's the name of the game, is to help folks to read more so that way they can lead more.
Right. And you know what? Not one person can write all books for all people. So, the sandbox is very big and there's a lot of pages to fill, and and paper never judges. So it's a very safe place for people to go, right?
Oh yeah. Oh
So do
yeah.
you have a
Unless they're
third
wallpaper
one?
papers.
Yeah. Do you have a third one that's coming?
Yes. Well, there was a third one. I call it 2.5 because it was a multi-author / co-author project called From Crappy to Happy: Sacred Stories of Transformational Joy. And that book was an inspirational book where myself and about 27 other authors contributed to make the nice little 300-page book. So if you into a lot more stories, pick up that book. And right now, my main project for this year is going to be, it's going to be a little bit more tactical, but yes, there's going to be an inspirational tone. It's going to be called Pod Book It: the 3 steps to advancing yourself to greatness through writing a book and or launching a podcast. Because a lot of folks, they usually ask me usually one of 3 things. The first one is, Dom, why the heck are you so happy all the time? The second one, after a book is published, how do you write and publish a book? And the third one is, how the heck do you start a podcast, and how do you get all these guests for your show? So all 3 of those, well, actually 2 of those questions are going to be answered in this 4th book, because the first question was answered in Going North and Stay the Course.
I've got a question for you. If, what I've also noticed about your work is that every sentence is well thought out. In other words, your books are not books that you can speed read, because most people want to do that. You pick up a book and you kind of like read every 3rd word, and you just get through the storyline or whatever it is you're reading. But your words, every single word makes somebody, you have to think about it. You can't speed read your books. What was the rationale behind that?
Yes. One of the best things in the world that anyone could do for themselves is to think. That's probably the reason why, is because I want folks to be able to at least use their brains a lot more than they do. Because, of course, with the wonderful phones where we get to scroll through life, kind of going a little mindless, we can feel a little empty. And it's like, it's like, oh, wow. So we have 168 hours in a week. Like, heck, funny enough, one I was talking to a few years ago, when she was asking how many hours we were dedicating to caregiving and full-time employment and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So, 40 out of 168 weeks is gone for work. And she was like, oh, wait, I never thought of that before. Like, it's kind of funny, like 24 times 7, 168, and just giving like tidbits after tidbits for folks to highlight and underline and just to add to their brain and just give them a new perspective, because we all have the same amount of time. We just don't really manage the right attention to where it should go, because we all need to manage where our attention goes, because we're in the attention management age where we have to manage where our attention goes. Because if we sit in front of the TV, the classic AKA boob tube, as they used to call
Boob
it,
tube, yep.
and they basically just have us like look at Netflix all day. Like, if you're not getting anything good out of it, then what's really the point? So that's really why the books are built that way. So it just gives you stuff to highlight, stuff to think about. And it's like, hey, and heck, it reminds me of this one quote from I think it was a guy named Ty Lopez. See books as your friend. Like sometimes maybe you don't want to speed read all the books. Like maybe just treat as a friend, you go back to it every now and then and just show some gratitude.
That's a nice one. I really like that. Show gratitude to the books. Respect the paper, right? That's important. So where can people find you? Because you are, well, you're fun. You're so much fun, and you're a fresh light. You've got a lot of wonderful, positive things to say, and people need to hear it.
Ah, yes, indeed. You can find me on Google. That's right. Just Google Don Brightmon. You'll find me.
There you go.
Fantastic. And tell us a little bit about your Going North podcast. How did you start that to as an extension of your writing, or did the podcast start after your books? Just give us a brief rundown of what your podcast is about.
Of course. Thanks for the opportunity to mention that. So the podcast started from book number 1. So if you see like a sandwich, you got the bun on top, book number 1. The podcast is like the meat, and then Story of Course is like the bottom bun. So the podcast itself is a way for me to not only market my books, but to give other authors an opportunity to share their stories and get their voices out there, because I wanted to make it bigger than me. It's like, yeah, I could ramble every week and basically talking to a mic, but you know what, let me make it bigger than myself and make my life mantra what it is, like advance others to advance myself. It's really about advancing others, giving other authors a chance to get their stories out there. The wonderful Mary was on there, the lady with 2 queens in her name, which is freaking awesome. And tons of other fabulous humans across the globe to inspire folks to also create their own piece of immortality. Because I've had New York Times bestsellers all the way to local authors who just wrote their first book to help folks realize, like, hey, you don't need to be like in some kind of mountain somewhere like a monk to write and publish your work. You could just be a regular everyday human being like myself and just really just get your work out there, because everybody has a book within them. We all have stories within ourselves, and this is the time to create that piece of immortality for, heck, even other family members to share with future generations, or maybe even something bigger than that. Maybe turn it to a business and help other people in that way.
That is amazing. I really, really love that. Dom, it's been amazing talking to you. Do you have a favorite? I know this is tough because everything in the book is a gem, but is there anything in the book that you specifically want people to look out for that's going to make them want to go and read this book?
Yes, there's a lot in it. I'd have to say chapter 7 would be my favorite book, or was it? Well, but I'm going to say chapter 7 because it's key number 7. Key number 7 is consistency and commitment. So those 2 C's will help make you a champion in life. And that chapter in particular, that chapter was written right after I got done in a kickboxing session, sweating my butt off in the middle of hot, steaming summer. And it's really a great chapter for folks to read, because I feel like that's where my passion came through the most out of the book compared to the rest of the chapters. And that's just something we all need to be reminded of, because we all can sometimes get off the horse and be distracted. But if you get back on the horse and be consistent enough, you'll definitely create sustainable success for yourself in life and have that fire so hot that other folks will come to watch you burn in a glorious flame of positivity.
Ooh,
Don, that's a great note to end on. Thank you.
Yeah.
So consistency, be consistent, be persistent, and go and have a look at chapter 7. Look out for that great advice there. Don, thank you so much. It was great chatting to you, and thank you very much to everyone who watched us today. Especially, I want to give big shout outs to a friend on Amazon Live, Marco Nova. Marco, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you. And until next week, we'll see you back again. Same place, same time. Take care, everyone.
Bye.